Greetings and welcome to another Chief Speaks on Enlightenment and Transformation. I am Chief Yuya, and you are listening to our month-long series, or the beginning, I should say, of our month-long series on family. The previous month, last month, which was August 2016, we dealt with the concepts of unity. Prior to that, we dealt with freedom and liberation, and then it goes all the way back to January. So of course, I welcome all of you to this experience known as Enlightenment and Transformation. And I advise everyone, especially you first-time listeners, to go back into the archives and listen to some of the shows previously. But those of you who are coming in now, I get a lot of, or I should say we get a lot of binge listeners. So for those of you who are just kind of soaking up the information and found something in Anu that really speaks to you and really works for you, welcome to this experience. I'd like to welcome you personally. So this month we're dealing with family. We're going to get right into it. So I have to tell you all that when I was designing the shows for the year, that this month in particular, because it's a course, and the family month was one that I was extremely excited about. I was extremely excited to present just on the topic of family and on the tenets of family and so forth and so on, especially the keys to building and maintaining strong families. But I tell you honestly, our new family, as I've grown or approached closer to the date for this month, some of that excitement has waned. I see now, in truth, there is a bit of cautiousness or even trepidation that I approach the subject with now. When I really started to meditate a bit on what family is and to really give it some serious reflection and some serious time in my mental space, there were certain things that came up mentally that I knew would be difficult to express, or maybe not so much difficult to express, but certainly difficult perhaps for some to receive. When we're dealing with family, a lot of times, for those who may not have a family, or for those who may be in families and things are not working exactly as they would like it to, 9 times out of 10, the issue is ego. You know, the issue is how one approaches into that situation. And we're not just dealing with families, we're talking about couples, any kind of relationship, one where you have to partner or work in coalition with someone else or create some type of symbiosis with another person. Ego becomes your greatest obstacle that you have to get through if you even recognize it. And I think that's where some of the cautiousness came in for this month's segment. You know, I said, well, to myself, there's some things I need to address that really, even when they're presented, like when I speak about ego on shows, for the most part, I can tell it's not really listened to, because that's the unfun part. Let's get back to the rituals, you know, or let's get back to the occultism. And so many do not see the relationship between their sense of self and their self-concept and the magic or the power that flows through them or doesn't flow. That's why approaching the show, I was a little hesitant. And I said, you know, this may be a difficult one, because when I started really thinking about family and thinking about some of the problems that many report to me, you know, not only within their family structures, but just in attempting to create family. You know, I can't find a mate, which is a common one, or my children are unruly. You know, they're resistant to what it is that I'm trying to present to them, or my mate and I are on 2 separate pages. It really, the issue begins prior to the formation of what one may consider family, or prior to the breakdown of the family. It begins with how we view one another. And so much of how we view one another has been implanted in us by a disaffiliated psychosis. You know, so you have individuals from outside of your community, outside of your structures of support, who give you ideas about one another. A very easy example, if you look at individuals who engage in heavy porno watching, right? Pornographic material doesn't necessarily mirror the desires of a man or mirror the desires of a woman, so but if a person is completely invested in that as a learning tool for how to sexually relate to another individual, then there's so much that goes missing. So now when they go to relate to another individual sexually, they're recreating this porno scene, and it may not lead to the greatest fulfillment in that act. It may not lead to the greatest reciprocity in exchange, so sometimes we take these ideas from individuals who may not be connected, associated, or even concerned with what our community needs or what we need as individuals, for our developmental path. And we take those ideas, we run with them, and then we share them with each other. So, like I said, as I started really thinking about the segment, that was a concern that came up. I said, there's a lot that I need to really address that I know for a fact that people are not ready to hear, because I know when I bring them up, some of these things up other times, how it's not really received. And this may be one of those months in shows where you'll listen to, I keep scratching my head. I think something bit me on my head as soon as I started filming. But this may be one of those months that you listen to and say, that didn't feel good. That wasn't a feel good month, and I know sometimes we have those, and sometimes the information needs to ebb and flow in that way. But in order to really get to the core of what it is that we have to do to repair ourselves, to see success in our lives, to achieve healthy experiences in our lives, a lot of times we have to cut through the nonsense, the layers of just ignorant, ignorant egoic thought that we have inside of us that we refuse to let go. Sometimes that's why our life doesn't change the way we would like it to change, because we're recreating every experience with the same thoughts and the same mentality that we're clinging to. And of course, that's attracting the same experiences to us, And it's not to say that people are born inherently ignorant. There is a knowing, there is an instinct that kicks in, especially within relationships, and how a man relates to a woman relates to a man, parents relate to a child. There's a primal instinctual knowing that's there, but it starts to get deteriorated and dissolved through, again, that external entity that's disassociated with the success and the ire or the fortune of said community. So, one of the first things, like I said, ego becomes a huge issue in relationships, because a lot of times when people are engaging and enter into relationships, they're looking for what it is that they can get out of it. And that's it. A lot of times when I'm working with clients, or for some of you who may have even listened to some of the call-in shows, you'll hear one consistent statement every single time when someone is speaking about a relationship, and it's "I want." And it's always "I want someone to." We can say that. I want to be. I want to feel. I want. You never ever hear "I want to love someone." I want to give love away. I have a lot of love inside of me. I want to give it away. I want to shelter a child. I want to nurture a child's development. You don't hear these things. You only hear about what the individual wants. And that becomes a very normal pursuit in a sick culture. To only go into a situation as an opportunist to look what you can take out of it. And then, of course, when it doesn't work, because we have this really twisted formation in our minds of what the devil is. We have this devil as this red figure with the legs of a goat and horns and a pitchfork, and coming again from the image of Baphomet, the Cancerian image, the goat. So we have this idea of the scapegoat. Okay, so it always has to be the devil's a liar. The devil made me do it. Someone has to be the scapegoat for the deficiencies within our own personalities and the defects within our characters. There has to be a scapegoat. It could not be me. You know, it has to be my family broke down, or my relationships don't work because of him, because of her, because of them, because of they. You know what they're trying to do now. You know, so it's this constant pursuit of the scapegoat. It's this constant pursuit of this devil who's ruining everything for me. And again, receiving those concepts from disassociated communities. Are you receiving that concept of a devil, or that concept of a Satan, or that concept of an adversary within the confines of your own community? Or are you receiving that from someone who's disaffiliated with your community and maybe only sees your community as a trading port? So a lot of times when we're entering into our relationships, again, we have the wrong perspective on what we're supposed to bring into the situation, and certainly the wrong perspective on what we're supposed to get from the situation. And there's this idea of blamelessness. You know, I'm entering into the relationship, I'm spotless and I'm blameless. And whatever goes on from that point forward, the only blame that I will take is the decision that I made to get into the relationship. So now what happens after the breakdown of the relationship? The person says, well, the decision I'll make from here on out is not to be in a relationship. The smartest thing I can do, I'm just going to be by myself. You see? And this is the relationship insanity that plagues many of people. And it's just straight, it's insane. There's no other way around it. I think maybe a month ago, some of you heard me say that. There was a call-in show. I think it was community show, you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 to 3, that someone called in, and, you know, sister, and I had to tell her, I said, you know, you're insane. And she didn't like it, you know, of course. But then she understood what I was saying afterwards. That insanity of I'm coming in, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm just right, it's this person. And you know, this is where we have to get kind of serious and real. And this is where some of you may not appreciate this month's segments. It's starting to flip now, not in a good way, but the majority of the voices that you'll hear that from are from female voices. You know, there's nothing wrong with me, it was him. And I'm going to speak to my community, my pseudo community for a moment, melanin dominant individuals. You know, this idea that the black woman is always a victim of the black man's savagery, and any breakdown in the family, any breakdown in children is he's directly responsible for. It's directly his blame. 9 times out of 10, what's promoted, especially when it's a breakdown of a family, is that he left his responsibilities. He just left me, or he doesn't want to take care of his children. You know, and this is racism at some of its most insidious levels. You know, you have people who have this idea that black people can't be racist because they say, well, power plus race equals racism. You know, but that's not necessarily true. There are black people who have power, and you have people who are the supporters of racist ideas. And by being a supporter of a racist idea, I can wield the power of a racist system. I have a whole system called the state behind me that will support me to execute racist activities against people of my community, people of my ilk. You see this often with I've had clients who are pregnant with children, and female clients, and they're having slight disagreements with, because sometimes, and these are ideas again that were introduced into the community, but you have sometimes melanin dominant women who will blow things way out of proportion in order to execute a scheme. Because the blueprint for the successful black family seems to be amiss. You know, but what we can find are blueprints for how to live the rest of your life on the system. So if I get pregnant and then blow up an argument or create a situation out of nothing, then the state will support my rebellion against building the community. So that's a racist act. and oftentimes when you speak, and sometimes you'll hear it even on my shows, the first thing that a woman will say is, he was abusive, because they don't know what the words mean, but they know that the words have power. You see that often, even just in the esoteric, metaphysical community. People will say certain words, DNA, genetics. They don't even know what the words mean, but they know as soon as you say them, it's a shutdown to the conversation. Or it puts them in a certain loftier position within the conversation, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they know what they're talking about. So a lot of times, like, you'll hear me on the show when people call and say, oh, he was abusive. What do you mean he was abusive? What did he do? And what did you do to make him do that to you? Because when someone says abuse, we're supposed to just, okay, we can't talk about that. And that's being used as a tool. So, and again, I know this is a sore spot for many. And the reason it's a sore spot is because you've been trained to be so egotistical. You've been trained not to look at yourselves. So what happens is, if that mentality is implanted from the beginning, that I don't know if this is going to succeed, but I definitely know how I can sabotage it and then profit from sabotaging it, then that's always in the back of an individual's mind. I can always go into the situation and get the state to support whatever I want to do going forward. That's why the farce of the single mother is just that. It's fallacious. There's no such thing, I'm doing this by myself. Women never do anything by themselves. There's so many different systems that are put into place that will support a single mother's rebellion. And not just systems, individuals. A system that creates certain individuals that will support that. I mean, you have whole church ministries that are created behind that. You have speakers and teachers who begin prolific careers just behind supporting that mentality, supporting that thought. So there's no such thing as that. And we can just look at the weight of the data. Statistically, families without fathers in the home, 63% more chance of a child committing suicide, or 63% of the children who commit suicide do not have fathers in the home. And it's not just for the boys. We always look at it, well, you need a man to raise a boy. You do, because obviously, we live in a different time. So I will say most women were little girls. Most women were never little boys. However, we live in a time now where you gotta ask those questions. What were you born as? But most women were never boys. So they don't really know and understand that maturation path from boy to man. And you have people like back in the 60s, you had like Gloria Steinem, who told individuals, you need to have the bravery to raise your boys like girls. This was a statement that was made, because the only difference between a man and a woman is a woman's ability to create or to produce, rather, children. You see? So that's insane, of course. A simple way you can just disprove that, real small way. Look at Valentine's Day. Look at the hoopla that goes on around February 14th and the work that the advertising and commercial industries put into promoting this event. And the promotion is all geared towards women and telling men to do the right thing by their women, because they don't understand what women want. So we're going to show you what women want. Well, that's a difference, right? And obviously, when it comes to money, when people put their money where their mouth is, okay, we're no different, then let's kill the whole Valentine's Day thing, because men, we really don't care anything about it. So I guess a woman doesn't care anything about it. So, like you say, we put the money where your mouth is, but the industries will say, oh, no, hold on, there's a difference. You see, so, but this idea, it created such an insidious faction within households where now the man became negligible. Oh, he doesn't need to be here. And then you had the state saying, well, if he's not here, we'll give you benefits. We won't subsidize you if you have a man in the home. We know that whole story. You could even look at the movie Claudine with James L. Jones and Diane Carroll for more clarification. And I know that's considered like one of the classic movies. I mean, that's a classic movie of male simping. Classic of just low standards. You know, the acceptance of anything, the whole bestial way sometimes that we form our families. But so, you know, you have this idea, and it's so there's different forms of attack. You know, we got to always understand that one of the reasons why a lot of our understanding of families and what broke down dates back to the 60s is because around that time you had an uprising of melanin dominant people who were reclaiming their minds. You know, it wasn't like the fight of their grandparents and their great grandparents where it was physical. They were breaking off shackles. There was still lynching going on. There's still lynching going on today, but not at the same rate, not at the same frequency. So during that time period, it wasn't so much about we got to get free, we got to get up north, you know, we got to get out of this very aggressive and violent situation, because you had now black neighborhoods. You could go to California, you could go to Chicago, you can go to Detroit, you can go to New York. You know, you had all of these different places where now we were able to huddle in groups. The problem was that now we need to try to get our minds back. So people were taking on African names, they were wearing African garb, and these were high revolutionary moments. So there had to be a way to dismantle that, because now we're not talking about the physical war, we're talking about the psychological war. So what was done was a psychological war was now waged on the woman. Okay, let's now create this idea of the big mama. You know, let's create an idea that black men don't love their children. You know, they don't love their families. They're completely disconnected from their children. And let's promote this idea, this savage beast. If you look at the movie What's Love Got to Do with It? Great example of it. You know, Ike Turner's just this savage animal, you know, and Anna Mae is just this innocent girl from the South and just wants to live her life. And I mean, if you know anything really about the story, it was nothing like that. You know, you could read some of the books on Tina Turner, and she even admits that she was wild. They were both drug addicts. She was having children outside of the marriage. She was so wild, you know, but when it got to the movie, it was just him smashing cake in her face and raping her, you know. So that's all a part of a plot. You look at movies like The Color Purple, right? And written by a woman who has sworn off the creation of black children, Alice Walker, has a campaign against actually having children. The insanity in that is that she has a daughter, you see, but creates this horrible movie. I mean, the movie's a piece of garbage. The greatest thing about Color Purple is the cinematography and the score. That's what the whole movie is. If you look at the movie, there's really not even much dialogue. It's just really good cinematography, because you had Steven Spielberg on the case, and then a really great music score because you had Quincy Jones. You know, because people understand the way to harmonize people into a space is by using sound and picture. You know, the words are not so much important because people don't listen that much. But, you know, things look good and they sound good, people are there. So, again, this attack, and I mean, there are many people who have broken down the attack against the family. I don't want to harp on that for too long, but I definitely want to provide it as a factor in the premise of what we're going to be speaking about. So, you have that. You have to break down the attack of the man in the family because it makes money. It's profitable. We can build prisons, you know, because we're looking at a plan that's not, how can we make money next year? You know, unfortunately, the sad part, a lot of times we don't realize the direct relationship between economy and the family. In fact, the word economy means to manage life or to manage the homestead. So when you're building an economy, you're building something that sustains your life, right? So most of us may not look, and say, okay, I'm going to be dead next year. You know, most of us say, okay, well, maybe I'm 25 years old, I'm 35 years old, and, you know, I got another 50 years or 60 years of working in me, so let me plan that. Now, if you're building an economy, what you're doing is you're building your life. So what will I do? What will I do 20 years from now, 30 years from now? When I'm 65, 70 years old, how will I be supported? Will I raise children who can help me out? Will I have nieces and nephews around? Will I create a legacy so that way I can be supported, and that way the ideas of economy can carry forward? So when someone is building an economy, it's not just about, let me get money next year. You know, a lot of times even this idea of people say I'm broke, you know, a lot of people will say they're broke because they can't buy something they want. You know, if you're out and you're driving around and you got a rickety raggedy car, or you're walking, you could be on the bus and there's a car that you see on a car lot and it has a price on it. Let's say the car is $7,000 and you're like, man, I don't even have $100 to my name right now. I'm broke. You know, so a lot of times it comes from a real immature space of just not being able to get what I want. That's the ego piece again. You know, what I want becomes supreme. Not, am I building an economy that will forget the $7,000 car right now? What's 20 years going to look like? What's 30 years going to look like? So there's a direct correlation between how we build our families, how we protect our families, and how we maintain an economy. And of course, you have alien entities that can build and maintain the economy of their families off of the destruction of another's families. So if one says, well, hey, we move because, you know, why are these studies done? If you think about it, if we remove the father from the home, what effect will that have on the prison system? You know, and then if we put this person in office who will vote for the privatization of prisons, how will that affect my family? Will that 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, will that help me to be able to retire in Palm Beach, Florida, and drive around in my Lexus and wear my Nautica shirt and go to the golf course every day? Will that support that ambition or not? You know, so building that economy is a much more long-range projection than people may realize. So the attacks that are done on the family, or the breakdown of the family, or the breakdown of the individual, there's a direct relationship between that and how one builds an economy. Even there's a direct relationship between racism and economy. So like I said earlier, being able to convert the image and the ideas and the conception of a black man into a savage beast in every moment makes money. You know, and you have people who are so hard pressed on this idea. You know, I've had people, you know, during lectures use the movie The Color Purple as a tool to elucidate a concept. And, you know, I've had to say, you know, that movie's not real. There's nothing real about it. The realest thing about the movie is the music, maybe the clothes, you know, but you have to look at the entire premise of the movie. Who lived like that? Who slept around all day in a dirty house drinking liquor and was still able to support them and all of their children and wives and mistresses and things like that? There's nothing real about that movie. There's nothing authentic, you know, but that's how powerful the injection of a sick idea can be. It's very hard to get rid of it. You watch the movie Inception, you know, you can understand that. But so, like I said, approaching this segment and approaching this month, I said, man, there's so much that needs to be covered first that I'm not really sure how I can get to what needs to be covered in the end. And I even thought, I said, you know, I may have to write a book on this subject, the creation and development of families. I know I did a book on solutions for dysfunctional family relationships, but I said I probably need to expound on that a bit further and speak about the ideas that we come into situations with, which cause us never to really attract a healthy family or to be able to keep one. One of which is the idea of the scapegoat, which is a racist idea, you know, to always see your counterpart as a brute. Well, who does that? And you think about that for a moment. I remember there was a time, even in movies, you know, whenever something happened, it was the black guy. That was suspect number one. And I know definitely in my own life, yeah, whenever something happens, something is missing, it's the black guy. You know, so when you start to adopt that kind of mentality, you apply it to your own life. when you start to support racist ideas. My relationship went astray. Why? The black man. Oh, my children's not doing well in school. His father. This, that, that, it always goes, you're still supporting that same movement. Never a thought that, well, maybe I alienated the father and that's why he's no longer here. Maybe I aligned myself so strongly with a system that only seeks to destroy this man that he had to get away from me. And consequently, he no longer has a relationship like he would like with his child. And that's only because he needs to survive. It's for his own survival. I mean, there's so many different levels to it that we can look at as to why things go a certain way and why people have to take certain actions. But just to automatically say, well, this is in someone's nature. I've had countless women, and I don't mean just to be getting on the women. I'm gonna talk about the men in a moment. But I don't need to even it out. The truth is, when you're talking about family breakdowns, especially in the melanin dominant community, the women are doing the majority of this because they're the ones who are being psychologically programmed to think a certain way. They're more easily programmable. They're the ones who are being supported. I mean, it's no secret. You go into family court, it's the woman who gets the support, not the man. I mean, even when a woman doesn't pay child support, she doesn't go to jail. She doesn't get her license taken from her. So this is no secret. And I know it's almost become like the homosexual thing, where whenever you make a truthful statement about a woman, especially a melanin dominant woman, because we're so afraid of her prowess, we're so afraid of her mouth, we're so afraid of her opinion. And that's because, again, the same system, the same way of thinking, that we always have to add a disqualifier first. We have to say, well, listen, I love my mother, I love women, but and it's the same fear that we have of America. Listen, this is the greatest country in the world, but the way we brutalize young black men, I mean, something's got to be done. But this is the greatest country in the world, USA. We're just so afraid to say things directly. Or we'll say, listen, I'm not really with Young Thug wearing a dress like that or this and that, but, I have nothing against the homosexual community. I have nothing against, you do whatever you feel like doing. This is not about homosexuality, but why does he got to wear a dress? Because it is about homosexualizing black men. That's another form of attack. Absolutely. Ask most homosexual black men, what was your relationship like with your father? Did you have a father around? Did your father touch you? Absolutely. But again, we're so afraid, and that's one of the greatest problems, the fear, which is a product of the ego. So through our fear, we're so afraid to be wrong. We have raised a community of cowards. No one will own up to the things that they do. No one will take responsibility. Now, when we look at the males, cowards. They're afraid to say, listen, no, you can't do this. They're afraid to learn something. How many times have I done family readings and literally the man is just sitting behind the woman and she's asking all the questions and he's just sitting there quiet, playing with his fingernails. And I'll lean, hey, this is for both of you, right? Yeah, man, this is her thing, man. This, I'm just here. You're worthless. That's what you are. You're just worthless. You're not just here. You're just worthless. So that fear is ridiculous. And of course, that's a beating down of the man. That's a removal and extraction of the man out of the boy, so that the boy never becomes a man. He grows up to be an adult boy, or he grows up to be a sissy. And there's different ways you can take that idea of a sissy, and so you understand, you got male sissies and you got female sissies. Individuals who just do not have the character to confront life, who do not have the character to look in the mirror and say, okay, how much of my situations am I responsible for? What am I contributing to what it is that I'm doing? It's got to be more than just my own perspective of my blamelessness, or that society tells me that I'm blameless, so I must be blameless. Because is society associated and affiliated with the success of your family? Do they even care about the success of your family? Or can you honestly see that society, the greatest society, is out to destroy your family because it makes money, because it's profitable to destroy your family? So there's a cowardice all around, and that's why I said this is this is a huge subject. You know, when I created for the month, I said I'm going to have to go really deep at some points, and I know going deep means I'm going to have to cut deep. And there are going to be a lot of people who are not going to, and I'm sure already some of you don't appreciate what I'm saying. I can picture the faces of some of you already. Some of you students who I've spoken to who are insane. You know, well, why he bashing the women? You know, it's going to be something like that, because whenever you bring out a point, it's a fight. You know, and I'm not just saying with women. That's just how people perceive things nowadays because of the cowardice. If you bring something up, you know, I was watching a video not long ago with Dr. Clark, and he was speaking about Louis Farrakhan and Alana Karenga, and he was sharing some of the history of their missteps. He was speaking about their character and some of the defects in their character, and of course, people in the audience were like, "Well, why is it about who did this and who did that? Can't we just talk about what the issue is? Can't we just talk about, we got more important things to deal with than blaming people for this, that, and the third." It always becomes that. We're so afraid to point things out. And really what we're doing is we're supporting a racist system when we do that. You know, we can't say, listen, no, this person doesn't have character that they should. This person has led you astray and they're damaging to the movement. You know, that's how movements got damaged in the past. That's how groups got infiltrated in the past, because no one said anything, or people were afraid to say things, or the person who said something was immediately labeled a hater. Oh, you just mad because you're not the leader. Oh, you just mad because nobody's going to your march. Or, you know, and it's so much deeper than that. It's so much, and you could see if you ever get the name of the video I think is Fake Black Leadership, something like that, Dr. Clark. And you just see his face. He's just like, as the people are talking, you could tell he's just so tired. He's just rubbing his forehead and yawning and just like you just don't get it, you know. And I know that feeling. I know that feeling. After a while, you just say, you know what, the hell with you. Just stay in the mud. Forget it. You know, I'm trying to help you, dummy. And you just don't get it, you know. So this is not about bashing anyone, and truth shouldn't be seen as that. This is about really seeing what's going on and why we're not able to achieve the things that we want in our lives. Like I said, a lot of times we're going in with a really sick sense of ego. What is it that I'm going to get? Well, I want somebody who's going to do it. I want somebody who's going to do it. I have a young lady I'm mentoring, well, not mentoring, but a young lady I'm guiding right now. And that's a question that she's been asking me. She just turned 18, and she keeps asking, well, because I've been talking to her about a character. She's going through some real heavy things that she was the cause of. I mean, down to getting someone arrested, abortions, or, you know, already. And, you know, I said, this is a product of your bad character. You're very selfish. You just want what you want, and you don't think about your wants. You don't think about where your wants come from. You don't think about what's motivating your desires. You just have a desire, you go do something, and then when it doesn't work out, you start pointing fingers at everyone. You know, you do some of the most heinous acts. So we've been speaking about character, you know, because she said, you know, Baba, I just need to get myself together. Like, I'm going crazy here. Everything is messed up in my life. And she's a very nice young lady, believe it or not, but just got caught up in her own ego. And she kept pressing, well, if I fix my character, will my life get better? And I kept saying, you need to fix your character because you need to fix your character. Stop going into a relationship with your own soul with an agenda. Well, if I do this, will you do this? You see, because if you're chasing that, you're never going to get it. It's just like someone says, you know, well, I want to be in a relationship because I want someone to love me. You'll never have anyone love you. Because as soon as you meet people, they can feel that spirit on you. They can feel that agenda. Sometimes it's in your very questions. You know, do you live alone? Do you that? What kind of car do you drive? What year is it? I had someone ask me that long ago, a woman. You know, she said, what kind of car do you drive? I told her. She said, oh, what year is it? What? You know, and you could imagine, if those of you have been listening for a while, how quickly that conversation ended and how it ended. you know. Yeah, so a lot of times when we look at things with this constant pull, it's like tug of war. I'm pulling, I'm taking, and there creates an imbalance in perspective, and there creates an imbalance in life experience. And I know so many students who are lonely, who are alone. And when we speak about the formation of family, the conversations surrounding that don't even apply to you just yet, because we have to determine first if you're even an adult man or an adult woman. And a lot of times you haven't even achieved that yet before we start talking about conjoining with another person. Why do you want to conjoin with another person? Okay. And is it for purely selfish reasons? Now, the quick answer is no. But think about it. Really think about it. People don't think enough. A lot of times you hear things and it's that emotional listening, and then see, that's what I'm saying, it could go deep. That goes back again to that effeminizing. Not having a man in the home, it's damaging to young girls because you don't know your value. You need your father to say, sweetheart, like sometimes little things, like you guys can probably say I got these little ears. I don't know, big head, little ears. I don't know what happened. So, but I have children who have these little ears. So I'll tell, my daughters, oh, baby, your ears are so cute. Your ears are so beautiful. They're like yours, Baba. Oh, coincidentally, they are. But just little things like that. When they draw you pictures, wow, this is amazing. You could be an artist. They need men for that valuation. And that way they don't grow up to be older women who cheat on their husbands because they need outside validation once their husbands get used to them. Or older women who dress like whores, but they refuse to be whores. And there's nothing makes me more annoyed than that. If you're going to dress like a whore, be a whore. But don't dress like one and then look down on whores. That's messed up. But anyway, so it's because of that valuation. That worthiness has not been instilled in them by the energy that it needs to come from. And it's the same thing with the women. With the men as well. Men take on a false sense of value as well without having the nurturing needed from their mothers. All right, so we're going to continue on with this. I know there's a lot that we covered, but formation of family is going to get deep this month. I just wanted to give you guys a primer and a warning for those of you who may want to opt out on this one. It's going to get kind of deep. And but necessary, because we can't form families until we form healthy communities within ourselves first. All right, be on the lookout for that 14 Principles book. It's on its way. We're in the final stages right now, and make sure you tune in this Tuesday and Thursday 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern for community radio 347-945-7680. This has been Chief, and this has been Chief Speaks. Thank you for listening, and Chief Yuya signing out. Peace.
Anu Nation is home to the Anu spiritual order founded by Chief Jegna Haru Yuya Asan Anu. Some of the components of Anu Nation are Anu Life Global Ministries, Enlightenment and Transformation, Sadulu House, and Osiris Life Spiritual Services. SaduluHouse.com is the school component of Anu Nation, where spiritual empowerment through education and training is emphasized. One way that is accomplished is through our monthly webinars. Our webinars are packed with foundational information, rituals, and live instruction to empower your spiritual work. At SaduluHouse.com, you can view our diverse list of topics for this year that range from meditation to sex magic. And you can also register for any of the webinars at your convenience, sign up for our introductory Orisha class, schedule a spiritual reading, and sign up for the Anu Spiritual Training course. Enlightenment and Transformation is the media component of Anu Nation. Here, you can view all of our archived shows from over the years to our current segments. They include Chief Speaks, Masterminds Monday, Anu Asafo, Thunderground Thursdays, and Foundational Fridays. You can also visit us on our YouTube channels. They are Enlightenment and Transformation, Orisha Yoruba, and Anu Nation. Osiris Life Spiritual Services is for those who are ready to take the necessary actions to bring your life into holistic balance. Here we offer consistent monthly one-on-one coaching, solutions that are tailored just for you, practical hands-on self-development techniques that will accompany your monthly readings, and customized practical strategies designed for you that guarantee positive results. Simply choose the package that best fits your needs. And last but not least, alphaomegastore.com. The Alpha Omega Store is our online botanica where we offer divination tools, herbs and incense, DVDs, books, and other hard-to-find ritual items. You can also get our best-selling foundational book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. Other great works from Anu Nation are Shrine and Altar, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships, and Natural Hair for Young Women. All great books to assist you on your journey. To find out more on how to get involved with Anu Nation, visit our websites and YouTube channels and be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter.